Welcome to preparing for the graduate school testing for the graduate record examination, better known as the GRE. My name is Eileen Diaz. I am a first-year student at CSUB's Master of Arts in History program. I am pleased to introduce a recorded video featuring Ms. Adrianne Silva, CSUB graduate advisor. Ms. Silva has been working with the CSUB Graduate Student Center and with CSUB graduate students since 2018 and is currently enrolled in the Master of Public Administration program. So like I said, this is going to be a recorded video, pre-recorded. So we're just going to go ahead and get that started.
So our agenda for today is to just go over the GRE testing program, review some services that are provided and resources. And there are a lot of resources. So what exactly is the GRE? So the purpose of the test is to get you into a graduate school and it's usually a requirement for admissions, also for fellowship panels. And it's a great way for you to be able to supplement your undergraduate records. And it also adds additional qualifications for graduate programs. The scores are usually common measures to compare you with other applicants when they're reviewing all the different applications that they receive. And it also aids in evaluating besides your transcripts and your letters of recommendation and all the other requirements for that program application. It also aids in evaluating that information. And the benefits of the test scores, it will measure how successful you will be in graduate school. So that's one of the reasons why some schools really want you to take it, and some of them don't actually require a minimum test score. They just want you to take it. It's taken around the world, so it will measure the skills of the applicant, and it doesn't matter if you have a different education or cultural backgrounds. It's all across. And then a couple of other little things here. And as I mentioned, it specifically, they say it will predict your performance in graduate school. So who uses the GRE general test? As I mentioned, it's used around the world. Many master's programs at different universities require it. A lot of MBA programs require either the GRE and or the GMAT. Law schools are now taking advantage of the GRE system and the GRE test. This hyperlink here, I'll be sending you the PDF of this workshop. If you're intending to go to law school, we'll show you all the law schools that are requesting the GRE general test. Doctoral programs also require the GRE test and awarding fellowships. And your scores are good for 5 years. So let's say let's just say you are looking at graduate school, something happens, you didn't go, and in 2 or 3 years later, you apply again, your scores are still good. So there's 2 different types of GRE tests. The most common is the general test, and it has 4 sections, which are right here, right? The verbal, reasoning, quantitative reasoning, critical thinking, and analytical writing. I have 4 sections here, but we're going to only be discussing 3, and I'll tell you the difference or where that critical thinking comes in. And then we have the subject tests. So these are specific to programs. If you were getting into you were trying to go to a biology master's program, they might require the biology subject test for the GRE, and the same for the rest. But you have to make sure when you're reading the requirement for one of these standardized tests, if they want the general or they want the subject. So just make sure you know the difference. So a quick summary here. The GRE general test is a computer delivered, and you can do it at home. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Test dates are ongoing. The test fee is $205. and that's in most regions of the world. And the length is 3 hours and 45 minutes. So your subject test, for example, like the biology one, is actually a hand paper delivered. They only do it in September, October, and April. It is a little bit cheaper and will be about an hour less. Now, in this workshop, we're only going to be talking about the general test, but if for any reason you need to take a subject test, I can always have a one-on-one with you and we can go over all the information. So the services that the GRE provides, they have a lot of testing accommodations, such as extended testing times, extra breaks, assistance, alternate test formats, and accommodations, such as screen magnification and JAWS. Now, in order to get these testing accommodations, you have to register. And this is what the little register button looks like at the ETS website. And again, all these little blue ones are all links for you. And you would request accommodations through the ETS account. And another little link there to give you more details. So GRE Resources, this is why I love the GRE. When I say I love the GRE, I know that for the MBA program, they really like the GMAT. But I feel that the GRE gives you so many more resources to help you do really well on the test. So if you're going to be if you're going to be applying for an MBA program, I have a liking to the GRE instead, but you always can look at both websites and see all the details. So they have a fee reduction program, and we're going to discuss that. They have a search service, test taking resources, test preparation materials, and scoring options or score options. So this is my favorite one, the fee reduction program. This is awesome. You saw that it was $205 to take the test. Well, you can get it at 50% off. That sounds funny, but yeah. If there's financial need or you've been unemployed, you can apply for the voucher program. I would apply no matter what, even if you don't think you need the financial need or you weren't, you were only unemployed for a couple months. The worst thing that can happen is they tell you that you don't qualify, but you tried. And then if you do get approved for this voucher and you need to retake the test because you feel you can get a better score, you can request another voucher and they will give you another voucher. So I think that's really, really, really great of the service. The fee reduction voucher is good for the general test and the subject test, so yay. And another really great reason to just apply for the fee reduction program is you get $100 worth of prep materials. So if you didn't qualify and you really wanted the test prep materials, it's about $100. And more information here. So what is the search service? This is a marketing tool more for universities who are looking for applicants, but hey, why not be recruited for a program maybe that you didn't know you couldn't qualify for, right? So it's a free service and it allows you to create a profile for recruitment purposes. And it will, if you do create the profile, you'll be getting emails from graduate programs, professional programs, financial aid opportunities, maybe scholarships, and for fellowships. So again, if you don't mind just random emails from different people, it's a great way to see, what's out there and maybe a new school you didn't think that, you were interested in. And again, more information. So this is the test taking resources, and there are so many resources for the GRE. You can go onto their website and they have in-depth explanation of the test. You can go to the Take the GRE website, so it's a little different. It's called Take the GRE, and they have quick summaries, helpful guides, and tips to get started. You can even go ahead and like their Facebook page, and they have a lot of updates and information on there for you. Or you can also connect with them on LinkedIn. And I have two different sites for the LinkedIn. They have one for the general test, and then they have another one for those who are will be attending business school or applying for a business school. So the materials that are available to you to prep for the test, they have the Power Prep, and it comes with 2 analytical writing tasks, 7 verbal reasoning questions, and 11 quantitative reasoning questions. I want to say this one is free or one of the lowest in cost because it doesn't really give you that much. The Power Prep Online, it gives you 2 full-length time tests. So you can prep for the GRE before you even take the test with the Power Prep. And in the Power Prep Plus Online, because it's plus, it's going to go ahead and give you 3 never before published full-length time practices. And then some of the little benefits of these 3 test prep materials, and it's all based on which one you have. You can get scores after taking the test, a score report, what are the correct answers, explanations for correct answers. They'll score your analytical writing and give you responses and reader commentary. You'll also know what the difficulty level of each question was, and I'll go a little bit more into why this is important, and also problem-solving strategies to determine correct answers. So of course, that would be something where if you really had no idea what the question is asking you, kind of giving you inside scoop on what to do when you run into that situation. A couple other test preparation materials. They do have free preparation materials, such as for an overview of the verbal reasoning, the quantitative reasoning, and the analytical writing. And you can look at that as one of your first test preps. And if you think you need a little bit more, that Power Prep. They also have the math review. And this is just a refresher of math. And they have a mathematical assumptions. These 2 here are PDFs. So when I send you the PDF itself, you'll get a link to the PDF that you can go over. And then of course, they do have just your strategies and tips for the general test. I mean, come on, the GRE, the company, they want you to do well. They have all of this here for you so you can do your best the first time. So let's go ahead and review the GRE general test. All right, so like I mentioned, there's a verbal, quantitative, and an analytical, and then I did say there's a critical thinking, right? All right, I'll go back into that as soon as I touch into it. So the test structure, you're gonna have 3 sections. The analytical writing is just 1 section. You're going to get 2 questions, and you have only 30 minutes per question. The verbal reasoning is going to also have 2 sections, 20 questions per section, and you get 30 minutes per section. So that's an hour there. Then your quantitative, another 2 sections, 20, and you get 5 extra minutes for all those math questions. So it should take you about 3 hours and 45 minutes. And this is including the breaks that are built into the GRE. I always want to say, like, do you have any questions? So I'm sorry. That's why I keep pausing, but we're going to ask the questions afterwards. So the test design features, really great features. It allows you to go back and forth as long as you're within that 1 section. It allows you to preview and review capabilities within the section. You can tag questions so that you can skip them and then come back to them. You can change and edit answers. And you have an on-screen calculator in the quantitative reasoning. Just more information on the Power Prep. All right, so the verbal reasoning, what you're going to be seeing here is you need to analyze and draw conclusions from the discourse or from the information that's given to you. You need to reason from incomplete data, understand multiple levels of meanings, such as literal, figurative, and author's intent. You have to summarize text, distinguish major from minor points, understand the meaning of words, sentences, and entire tests, and understand relationships among words and concepts. And it could be one of each, or it could be a few of one, a few of the other. It's all over the place. So you just want to make sure you're prepping for all of them. And I know I have something to say, so 1 second, I'm getting there. I have my notes. I'm like, it's really important. Yes, okay, so the verbal reasoning actually will be assessing your ability to understand what you read and how you're applying your reasoning skills. So this is really important, especially in graduate school, when you're reading, when you're doing research and reading tons of books just to write like a 5 or 10 page paper. So again, remember, this is measuring how well you're going to succeed in graduate school. So the verbal reasoning is seeing how well you do there. With the quantitative, this one is going to measure your basic mathematical skills. You're going to need to, they want to see your skills in elementary mathematical concepts, your ability to reason quantitatively and to model and solve problems with quantitative methods. Some of the questions you're going to be answering or having to review are going to be arithmetic, and I kind of broke it down on what kind of questions there. Algebra, and I broke it down there. Geometry, and data analysis. And data analysis is so important in graduate school. Can I see a heading nod about data analysis? Yes. So just basic descriptive statistics and all that great stuff. So if you've already done it at, in any of your senior courses, or you've never done it, you know, really take the time to prep for it, because it's going to be something you're going to always be seeing at the graduate level. And of course, the analytical writing, it's going to assess your critical thinking and analytical writing skills. So that's where that critical thinking part came in. It's a 30-minute, the first one is 30 minutes, and it's going to analyze an issue. The second one is analyze an argument. And if you were to go ahead and go to the link here, they actually will break it down, maybe some of the questions and how to answer them. And again, more test taking strategies here. So quick tips when it comes to the verbal reasoning and questioning. The computer, okay. The 2 sections are section level adaptive. So what that means is when you take the first section of, let's say you take the first verbal reasoning section, based on how well you do in that first section is going to determine what type of questions you're going to get in the second section. And the second section is either going to be harder, or it might seem easy, or it might just be as complicated as the first one. But that's going, and the harder that the questions are in the beginning and you get them right, then it means you're probably going to get even harder questions the second time around. It's okay. Just know that this is going to help improve sometimes your score if you are able to get a harder second test. So a couple of quick things I have on here. We haven't already read it. All questions within a section will contribute equally to your final score. Basically, if you get one question semi-right, it's completely wrong. You have to get the questions completely correct or right so that you get scores. It does say here to do your best on both sections, because after you complete the 2, your final measure is based on the total correct answers and, as I mentioned, the level of difficulty of the questions. Points are not deducted for wrong answers. Great, right? So might as well answer them all. And then more strategies. I have so many links here because it's just such a great website to just go and discover and look. So some tips and strategies. I don't know why I have to say this, but I have to say this. I've known people that don't study for a test and just think that they're going to do perfectly fine, and they don't. So please, even if it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 6 months, please study for the test. Do it at a way, maybe once a week, you just study for the GRE until the test date. You want to make sure you're aware of the time. You have 30 minutes in two sections, 30 minutes For the writing, 30 minutes for the verbal, and 35 minutes for the quantitative. So you really want to make sure you know what time it is and kind of have a strategy, which you'll do when you're studying for the test, have a strategy of how many minutes to take on a question. It does say, please understand the question. Just read it and make sure you understand the question, but then also look at the answers, which is a great tip and strategy. As I say, if you get a wrong answer, it's not going to go against you. If you get it right by accident or just pure luck, hey, at least you'll get that point for it. So answer every question. Use all the knowledge that you know of, especially use the knowledge prior to studying and use the knowledge that you gained when you were studying for the test to answer any questions that are not familiar to you. And then it does say to check the review screen, and I'll go over what the review screen is before clicking like you're done, or if you don't get time to review it, it'll just move on to the next one. So it goes over the time, you'll know. And then don't waste too much time on difficult questions because you only have 30 or 35 minutes, and don't spend too much time on the review screen. So the scores, how the GRE is scored. You can get a 0 through 6 on your based off of the writing. I want to say 4 is the most like minimum and one of the scores that you want to achieve a 4 or above. With the verbal, the points go between 130 and 170, and again, this is on correct answers and level of difficulty. And yeah. And there's some programs that don't care what your score is. They just want to see where you are. But if you do have to reach a minimum score, really take into consideration what that score is and aim for that or higher. So at the end of the test session, you're done. It's 3 hours and 45 minutes of your life. Your head probably hurts and you want some water. But before you do that, you have the option to report or cancel your unofficial scores. So based on what happened in those 3 hours and 45 minutes, at the end, you get to decide, do I just want to cancel this? Do I just want to throw down the drain $205? Or yes, I'm going to report it. I don't care what it is. Let's see what's going on, right? So one quick tip is always report. Don't cancel it. You spent all that time. Just go ahead and report the test. And so when you report the test, you're actually going to get unofficial scores. Yes, you'll get unofficial scores so you can kind of see how you did on your verbal and quantitative section. Unfortunately, the analytical writing, you have to wait for the official scores to come out. And then at that time also, so when you hit report, you see your scores, you have the opportunity to send 4 free score reports to the different programs or the fellowship or the scholarship, whoever it is that you're taking this test for. And as it says on here, official scores will be available within 10 to 15 days. I always say 2 weeks. And as mentioned before, you do have the opportunity to take the test again. If it's not the score you wanted, or it's not the score you felt you could get, you just take it again, especially if you did qualify for the fee reduction. You can always apply for it again and get take the test a little bit cheaper, right? Now you can retake the test every 21 days, only 5 times within a 12-month period. So you have 5 times to take it. I hope it doesn't take you that long because they have so many resources for you to study and not have to do that, all right? So then this is such a awesome service that the GRE program has, is they have a diagnostic service. So it gives you an insight on your performance of the test questions. It includes a description of the questions you answered correctly and incorrectly. It'll let you know the difficulty level of the questions and how much time you spent on each question. Great, right? That way, the next time you retake it, you already know where you need to kind of fix, fix the situation to get a better score. This service is available 15 days after you've received your test results. And you can review this anytime within the 6 months after you took your test. So if you took the test yesterday, I would say 30 days later, you can look at your test diagnostics. All right, so on the test day, so I have one person here, right, who's already registered and ready to go. So a couple things to think about and be ready for. This is really big. Don't take your cell phone. Can I just say one scary story I heard? I actually had a MBA applicant call me and tell me that she was, she couldn't finish, she was not allowed to finish her GRE test because during a break, she went to her locker to check her messages and they caught her and she had to go ahead and retake the test. And 21 days later, here was the problem. She was not going to meet the expected application deadline date at that point. So she was going to have to wait just a whole nother application period because she failed to think that it was okay to go check her messages. So just, if you're going to go to a test site, just leave your cell phone in the car. Just don't even bother with it. So on the test day, go ahead and get to the center early. And then if you're taking an at-home test, which is an option, make sure you prepare your area. You want to make sure your computer is also ready so that you don't have any problems and that your camera works because yes, you need a camera. Follow all policies and procedures allowed at the test center, have test etiquette, etc. If you're doing that at home, make sure you're alone in a room, that you have an empty desk and it's free and clear of clutter, and that you're sitting in a standard chair. And you have to be sitting, I guess. You want to make sure you have an acceptable and valid ID with your name, signature, and photograph. Have the names of the school ready for reporting because you're going to report after the 3 hours and 45 minutes. And at the test center, of course, don't bring any food, don't bring any personal items, no purse, no nothing, nothing, just what they need to identify you. And as mentioned, your cell phone, smartphones, and all of that great stuff, you don't take it in. So right before you're starting the test, you're in, they're gonna go ahead and take a picture of you. They're gonna collect a handwriting sample. You're gonna be scanned with a handheld electronic device just to make sure you're not taking anything in there. Just leave it all in your car. Change too, just empty your pockets, nothing. Receive a writing, you're gonna receive a writing utensil and scratch paper. So for those who are gonna be taking the at-home test, this is really critical, but you cannot have scratch paper. The only way that you will be able to kind of like write things down in the quantitative section is either having a whiteboard so that you can erase it and you actually have to show your whiteboard to the proctor, the human proctor, and or have a blank piece of paper and put it inside a transparent sheet protector. And I thought that's pretty cool. So what you would be doing is writing on this sheet protector with an erasable marker, of course, showing it to the proctor, erasing it, and going on with the next one. So kind of cool strategy there. At the testing site, they're going to have proctors and electronic surveillance. At home, you're going to be monitored and recorded with a live human proctor on the other side and artificial intelligence technology that they will ask you to download onto your computer. So you always want to make sure that you've installed all of these items before your test time for the at-home tests. A couple other things about so during the general test, so you've got through all that, now you're actually taking it. Make sure that you understand the test center regulations, the timing, the breaks, and test information. If there's any kind of repeater policy there. Be ready to respond to 2 background information questions. Usually it's your educational status and intended graduate major. And then they're also going to ask you other questions that you completed during test registration. When you're looking at the time test, each test section is going to have a general instruction screen before you get started to make sure you really read through that and understand it. And you can only work on one section at a time for the allowed time. So again, 30 minutes or 35 minutes. There's a help feature, and it allows you to review question directions, section directions, and just general directions. And they also have testing tools. The mark and review feature we kind of discussed, but it allows you to mark questions that you're going to want to answer later in the same section within the 30 minutes if time allows. And it also allows you to review the list of all the questions you have so that you can see which ones maybe you skipped or forgot, or maybe there's a question that you want to go back and check. They do have the on-screen calculator, and here are your breaks. Ready for this? You only get one 10-minute break after the third section, and you will get 1 minute break between the other sections. If you have to, for any reason, take a break that's not scheduled, it's not going to stop the clock. It's going against you. Keep that in mind. All right, we have gotten to the any questions section.
Okay, so hi again. So please meet me back in the main session.